All right, ladies and gents, welcome back as we now move into our second series of the day here in WCS Europe. It's going to be San versus Dayshi.
Yes, I'm looking forward to this one. I think Dayshi can go through first place in this group today. I'm really feeling it. I'm a big fan of his game, actually. He's very, very good against Zerg players. He's always had a pretty decent Terran versus Terran. Struggles against Protoss players. But a lot of people were asking questions today about San, and I'm here to answer it if you didn't know already. San is playing from Korea.
Yes, he is.
So he comes into this group with a disadvantage. We'll have to play with latency issues. Obviously, being in Korea on the Europe server right now isn't going to be easy. So I would, even though San, if they were playing live, I would have to favor against Dayshi, especially because Dayshi isn't the most comfortable against Protoss right now. He's got a bad mindset, and he even has a bad mindset coming into this game, knowing that San is from Korea. So not the strongest of ways to approach this, but I still have to favor him here.
Yeah, and even in the map vetoes, I mean, we saw map vetoes from Dayshi being Yonsu and Heavy Rain. Yeah. I wonder why.
Yeah, get rid of those blink maps. Get rid of those maps that have a lot of options for Protoss to choose against you. And then on the flip side, I think we saw Altazim and Habitation Station. Yeah. Habitation Station was vetoed out there most likely because you can't really use blink, which narrows down the options for the Protoss player, which makes it easier in reverse for the Terran player to play against. But on Altazim, it's just a map where we didn't want to play at all. Big map. Playing from Korea wants to kind of make it simple and short, I would imagine, rather than long and hard.
God damn,
I always set myself up like this. I just can't help it.
I didn't even see it coming until you said it. I was like, wow, that's amazing.
Yeah, well, it happens, doesn't it? And then the map order is Polar Knight, which is short and fast. Daedalus is the second map, and then Frost if need be.
So ideally, he doesn't want to go to Frost.
Ideally, in ending it in 2 games. But yes. I think that Dayshi, knowing that his opponent is from Korea, can definitely try to extend the games. I don't know. I'm terrible. I'm really bad.
That's fine. We can accept that. So, indeed, Polar Knight is our first map. I think we could see proxies. I mean, from San, you're saying that he does want to finish the games a little bit quicker. And that's what we normally see from the Protoss players that are playing from Korea. The only player that we've seen being able to play normal games from Korea in the past for WCS Europe has really been MVP.
It's because he's a god.
It's because he's MVP.
It's because he's a god. So strategies which are going to be more highlighted upon, I would imagine, from San are Dark Templar openings. Yeah. Because you don't require, if your opponent doesn't have turrets in defense, he's going to lose a lot. So that and potentially gateway attacks. If your opponent doesn't have enough defense there, it doesn't matter how good your control is and how well he needs to be set up. And it's going to come down to a lot of just pure execution builds from San. He needs to choose a build, choose a strategy, execute it as much and as clean as he can, and then hopefully it's good enough. That would, I imagine, how he'd approach this series, playing from a different server.
And that's kind of where I see San's ability and strength in when it goes on to his next opponent, who is guaranteed to be a Zerg. And we all know what he likes to do against Zergs. Yes. And there's not really a whole lot of micro involved in that. You just kind of have the Zealots where you need them, and then smack. That's what Zealots do.
So, we've seen a lot of Protoss players in the last year be successful in group, even everyone knew that they were playing from Korea.
Yeah.
Duck.
Tails had a hard
time. Genius was able to make it work.
Yeah, Genius.
So we've seen different players from Korea, Protoss players, make it work. And that's what San's going to have to do today. And it is a little bit unfortunate for him because he's played very well recently. He's been in 3 finals in the 7 to 8 months. That's really impressive for San. He's really on top of his game. He won his first major tournament just a few weeks back. But now he goes up in Group D, and he will have a little bit more of a difficult time.
Yeah, we'll see what he's going to do here as he goes up against this man spawning down to the south, who, again, made a reputation of himself in 2013 as a very strong Korean killer during those team leagues. It is Millennium's Dayshi. And up to the north, we have our red Protoss. Representing Yo Flash Wolves, it is San. And we were theorizing that, he was in the MYI house before, but it's like 5 days now until he has to play the start of TESL, which he's competing in, which he won twice.
Yeah, Taiwanese Star League.
Yeah. So that's probably why he's back over there for now.
But San It's really good to see you back, because you actually mentioned it during the start of the broadcast. He almost disappeared off the face of the earth.
Yeah.
And in this game, as mentioned, he's going to focus on his strategies here. 10 gate coming out. A really early gateway from him here means very early access to the mothership core, just units overall. So a very aggressive opening here from him. But he almost did drop off the face of the earth, unfortunately. He was a 2-time GSL semi-finalist, if I'm correct, in the Code S, and also the World Championship, if you want to quote me. I think that's right. And then after that, he basically just dropped out of GSL. He played the next season and then was out and gone. And then only requalified once in almost 2 years, which is crazy.
Yeah.
And we never saw anything of him until recently, back again in 2013, where, as mentioned, he's got some really good results. By the way, look at Dayshi. Very early... I wouldn't say very early, but early scout to go to the left. This is a normal scout timing from the Terran player, halfway as the barracks has been completed, but he's scouting around his bases, knowing that that's probably going to be the way the Sense is going to play.
Yeah, and I wouldn't be surprised if we do see something very, very quick from him here in terms of some aggression. I wouldn't be surprised if we actually saw something like Stargate, but he's only got one gas's worth.
He's going to chrono boost into the mothership core and Stalker, I would imagine. And Daishi's going to see this obviously pretty early on. He's like, wait a minute, that's fast. That's chrono boost. And all you need to do against this, if it is going to be the mothership core boost and the Stalker boost, is that you just get a bunker down pretty fast, which he's doing and adding on to his main base quite early.
Doesn't want to lose that SCV. He's keeping an eye on things at the front. The Reaper's going to head across there as well. So it might be able to intercept the Zealot and start working on that. But look how San is sending that Zealot out. Very, very clever moves here from him. Yeah,
that's nice. That's really nice, actually. But the bunker's going to be complete, and Dayshi will build his command center inside the main base here. His follow-up could be with a factory, because his income isn't going to be as strong, because he's had to slow down his income because of obviously building the bunker and then obviously delaying his expansion. So the factory follow-up is a lot more common here. You can spend your gas a lot easier, because how are you going to spend the gas? You're gonna rise up really too fast to be able to get down the barracks fast enough to get the tech labs and upgrades.
And I do love that Daishi's walling this off, because it can be all too obvious for a Protoss to eventually just run past that and be annoying. But this is a really nice little move here for Dayshi. He doesn't necessarily need 2 supply depots right now, but he needs to keep himself well and truly.
Look at this, though. 2 Marines are going to pop out and die almost immediately if they don't go straight to the bunker. I was going to say, if they just stand there and kill the mothership core. They got a micro around, though, in the bunker and out the bunker. Wait for the 3rd and 4th, and then you'll be fine.
He should be fine from that point on. It's very difficult for this Zealot and Stalker to do anything. They will start poking at the front potentially, but if they do that, they're going to take quite a bit of damage. With the Widow Mine on the way as well, Daishi's set up for a good defense, I feel.
Yep, 3 Marines coming over to push this back. 1 SCV was killed by the mothership core.
Takes a bit of damage as well. Has to get out of there, though. Won't die. But the expansion goes down behind this, so San isn't actually going for something super crazy, but that Twilight Council at the back is pretty quick.
Yeah, he's seen the factory, though. Definitely needs to either keep... Well, he has to get ready for the Widow Mine. Whether it be adding on a Forge very shortly to add a cannon, because he could go Robo, but that would mean he wouldn't want to be as aggressive. A Forge being added on, yes, you have to spend money, but you also deal with... what's coming to you, and also it's smoother with your transitions. You're going to get the +1 armor much more over the robotics facility most of the time here. So he's got to prepare for that, because if he doesn't, obviously the Widow Mine could do a lot of damage with the first medevac on its way.
And there's a Widow Mine on this ramp here, so if that Stalker were to poke up for any reason, that would end up dying off. And there's Blink now on the way. It really looks as if he's not taking proper precautions here, Sean, because the first medevac's about to pop, and there's still no detection. He's going to have to rely on units killing things off quickly, but that's kind of risky.
Yeah, that is risky. And it's going to be Robo, actually, here. So with the Robo coming in from this point, he's not going to go for a crazy Blink play. Definitely could be just a gentle tickle with the Stalkers initially, and then see where it gets him, see where it goes. It's going to be hard to break a player that has Widow Mine set up defensively as well. And he's making his way across now. His unit's in position.
We have a few Stalkers on this left-hand side, so they can at least do some damage. But these 2 Stalkers and Photon Overcharge, if that Widow Mine does pop and he focuses it down quickly, he can actually kill that.
Yes.
So let's see how he's going to react.
Well,
nope, that's not quick enough. Never mind. It was already not quick enough.
2 kills.
Oh, not too bad. And, well, it's going to get cleaned up pretty fast, because that Robo is about to finish up. And then if you chrono boost out the Observer, I think it gets out just as it recharges that Widow Mine, so it's going to be close.
The other one on the natural, though.
Will it do anything? He's already killing off probes with those Marines. So 4 have died so far.
Yeah, Photon Overcharge activated on the natural there. We are going to see the Widowmine detonate inside the main base.
And he puts a lone probe next to it. So Dayshi could have technically controlled that Widowmine and targeted a few in the mineral line, but you know, he's being preoccupied here, dropping this up to the north again.
Yeah, nice little harass with these 3 Marines too. Yeah. Really effective here. And he scouted everything his opponent's up to, who is just on 3 gateways, does have Blink almost done, and can imagine it would be almost done, but is set up in a really good position from this point so far, and the game will continue on. But you always have to keep in consideration that the Nexus was up a lot earlier, and there has been a lot of chrono boost in it, because Blink wasn't rushed out. There hasn't been an aggressive nature come from San after the early opening.
Wow.
So he does have a probe lead, and, well, a fast third base too.
It's like economical cheese in the end. I mean, Dayshi, now that I look at his unit comp, he's only got Marines out right now.
Yeah, there's no way he can really stop that now, but he could definitely start to be quite crazy as soon as the first, as soon as Stim is done or close to done, even when Comet Shields is done. But with Blink, that's how San would look to prepare and defend himself.
Yeah, exactly. If this is the San's game plan all along, just to have the Blink out really early to defend these 3 locations, then more power to him, because it's a very strong position to have. Of course, you've got to be very, very much so on top of your scouting, on top of seeing everything that's coming. He has an observer over to the left-hand side to spot any drops there, but it's still, there's so much airspace on this map, it doesn't cover everything, so his main is still vulnerable despite this observer.
Well, Dayshi has decided to go for 5 barracks anyway here, which is quite common recently in Terran vs. Protoss to really try to get damage dealt. He's already actually dealt out 10 worker kills, which is pretty good for this game. 10 worker kills throughout, the economy's similar, but it is going to start to skyrocket soon. We have 3 extra gateways, which is a total of 5, still small. Blink is going to be very useful, but the first Colossus is out, or will be out with this one popping. But Dayshi's still in the dark. Very much so in the dark here.
Meanwhile, San is not. I mean, he knows that his opponent's added on extra barracks, and he sees the movement now as well, so he can just fall back, get to his Colossus that won't be really too rivaled, unless, of course, he leaves it vulnerable to a stimmed small contingent of units.
I think Dayshi, if he goes to the natural, that's the best thing that San would like. Just to ignore the third base and not have to defend it out in the open.
Because right now he doesn't even know it's there.
He doesn't even know it's there. If he just comes to the natural, this is good.
There's one Marine. There's one Marine going down there. He can help.
Oh, that's nice. That's a good find. Because now you go over that side.
Oh yeah, you don't go to the
And
natural.
then you fight in the open, and that's where Colossus is going to be obviously worse here. They would have been better underneath a Photon Overcharge, Force Fields.
Well, especially since he only has 1 sentry, right? So you can't realistically cover this entire ground with just 1 sentry's worth of force fields.
And Thermalance is not even ready, so...
He's got to be careful, and he actually stims up and tries to bring it down and forces it away, but he did lose a little bit of his force to that, as the Zealots will chase him on. So he's holding on for a second. Second Colossus is about to pop here, Sean.
Yep, and he's going to need that over there ASAP.
Yeah.
But of course, Dayshi can start to... Ooh, this is nice. It's kind of... hurt his opponent because he spread so thin, but this observer placement is good. And remember, there's also Blink Stalkers. Some ability is quite strong here. Yeah,
Dayshi got really unlucky with that scan, as it was just off to the left of that observer. But he's going to go for it anyway. He realizes that one Colossus is very vulnerable in its positioning. No gateway units to really help it, but he's going to end up chasing it down. Kills off all the Stalkers underneath it anyway. This Colossus could have died a little bit quicker, but he does get it in the end. And Thermalance is just finished up. So the entire force here, this is the problem for San. If you set yourself up across 3 bases like this, you're going to get hit pretty hard at multiple locations.
And he wasn't quite ready to defend that drop. Not quite. Was almost, but not quite. And now he is taking a lot of damage. One Colossus, well, that gets picked off too. There's even a Viking just there that got that last hit. And San is starting to crumble.
Yeah, this is not so great for him. Army supplies 54 to 39. The natural does fall, and he could have happily poked properly at this third base with a small bioforce, but they're not over here just yet.
And if a Nexus was going to be killed, it was, for San, going to be the third one. This is obviously quite difficult, because if he rebuilds it, then he's still spread thin. If he doesn't, he's still spread thin. Drops to the main base, army movement to the third are going to be very, very difficult to stop from this point. And it's, like I said before, just 5 gateways. Oh no, it's actually gone up to 8 now. So that's not too bad. But still just Colossus production, which has been put down to 1, even though there's been technically 3, if not the 4th that's about to pop now. So very, very difficult to hold this position.
Yeah, and 5 Vikings even now to start working on them. There's really not a whole lot of Stalkers to actually bring down those Vikings before the Colossus does fall. And now, look up, this is all he has, just gateway forces against this. There's one Colossus slowly trundling over there, but before that gets there, he could just turn around and kill that. He could just turn around and kill it.
Yep, you can't defend through bases like this.
Yeah.
It's too hard. And San is going to lose his first game, Claris, unfortunately for him. But Dayshi does get a good start against Protoss, first of all. He doesn't like to play against Protoss. Second of all, he was very nervous playing against San, who has got a massive track record recently. But he's going to start this up with a victory.
Nicely done. GG for Dayshi there in game number 1. But we can safely say that there was big risks involved in there for San.
Yeah, there's always going to be in this series.
Yeah.
I mean, we pointed out before we even got it. He's always going to take risks. It's going to be hard to play. I know there's people look at him like, but he's Korean. He doesn't need to take risks. But the difference between Dayshi and San isn't that big.
Yeah.
It isn't that crazy big. And then when you put in the cross server that he's having to play on now, it's very difficult for San to play. And, well, he's going to continue to take risks in the next map and the next map after that. But remember, he really wanted to close this up 2-0, ideally. Going over to Frost would seem to drag out the games unless he does do something super risky, try to win early.
And for some people out there that are maybe unfamiliar with how WCS Europe works, for example, Korean competitors are allowed to participate if they go through the qualifiers or already in there. But obviously they come in knowing the inherent risks involved with entering and then having to play from the region that they live in if they're over in Korea, for example. So it is purely their choice as to what actually goes on here.
The next map is Frost, though. I thought it was the third map. My mistake. So the third map would be Daedalus then.
Ooh.
So Frost going into this next one is definitely a good map here for Dayshi to look for the win. But what he needs to look for most of all is what risk is going to be taken by San. Dark Templar, Blink Play, 10-gate, gateway attack overall. All the different options that Protoss have to choose from, one of them will be used, and it will probably be executed quite well.
Yes, it certainly will. As we now will be jumping into this in a second. If I had to peg it, I'm just going to go blind, throw in a dartboard, because I'm not very good at darts, so it could land anywhere. I think, we've seen some like proxy Twilight Councils with Dark Shrine being left in corners of the maps. That could be something that San will bring to the table. But really, anything's viable.
Yeah, I mean, the one big problem which Terran players had, and if anyone watched Pro League this morning, you could almost come to it, even though there are other things that happen there, is that there's a Terran, Flash, who tried to prepare for everything because he got no scouting information, tried to prepare for Oracle, Dark Templar, Blink, but just died to a gateway attack. So, yeah, so if you try to prepare for everything, you can just die to something very specific from the Protoss player. So Dayshi, ideally, even though he knows he's got to be on guard, needs to find out what San would be bringing towards him.
And meanwhile, Dayshi played out a good game number 1. I mean, everything he did in game number 1 was just normal. And it just worked out. That's the risk that you run as San. You're just basically anticipating your opponent doing something a bit strange and not playing the normal style that Dayshi plays, because again, we mentioned that he beats Koreans quite often in things like team leagues. He got an all kill against MVP, for Christ's sake.
Yeah, Dayshi's a very, very good player and definitely looking to have a great 2014.
Yeah.
Last game was simple. 10 gateway was eventually countered by killing 10 probes, so the game was equalized a little bit. San took an even further risk by taking a third. It got spotted, it got killed. Pretty much. He got killed rather than the third.
And there's nothing special Dayshi did. He just sent one Marine over to the third and was like, oh, that's there? Okay, time to go over there then.
Yeah,
that's what you do. And I mean, that third had been around for maybe a minute to 2 minutes before that was even, maybe even 3 minutes before that was even spotted. So even in that 3-minute window, he still didn't pay enough for the kind of difference he had to make up to defend across those 3 bases.
What would you do if Dayshi opened up command center first?
As San?
I mean, what would you as Claris do if Dayshi opened up command center first and neglected scouting? What would you do?
Proxy Stargate? I like proxy.
No, but
Stargate.
as a caster Claris, not player Claris.
Oh,
if we saw a command center first, what would you do or say?
I'd go, wow.
Wow.
There we go. I'll do that. Okay, so spawning down to the bottom left hand. I'm not quite sure why I made that noise. We have Millennium's Dayshi, currently 1 game up here as our blue Terran. And up to the top right, we have our red Protoss. It's Yo Flash Wolf San.
Yeah, think about that question. I guess there's not really too much you could do as Casa Claris apart from kind of talk about it.
I'd be like, he's gone command center first.
Yeah. What would you do if you went command center first? Well, I'd narrate him going command center first. I'm like, wow, okay, cool.
Nice.
But I would be so shocked if he was to open up something like that. Even Barracks command center, like Happy likes to play, it is very vulnerable to the way that San's playing. So it would almost have to be Reaper opening almost every single time here for Dayshi, unless he's willing to take that risk and say, you know what, whatever.
I think he could. On a map like Frost, I think he could. He could certainly get away with it. He's not going to. He's going to go for the barracks because he knows that in the end, I don't think he really needs to take too many risks if he's going to play his own standard staple game against San here, who is battling against some issues that he's having. But, you know, the refinery goes down, so it's just a normal opening from Dayshi from here.
Yeah, as expected from him here.
So no wows.
No wows, no shocks, just a good way to approach San and San's playing conditions. But we have a single 15 gas coming out from San and then immediate chrono boost here, which means he cannot afford to continue to build probes at his pylon and, more importantly, take that second gas. So we are going to see here from him a 1 gateway expansion, and then looking to choose from the multiple sets of options that are not focused on mining from double gas earlier on, which would involve fast thirds again, multiple gateway attacks. Still could be tech just a little bit later, so he would play a bit of a mind game with the initial scout from the SCV, who would see the Nexus faster, rather than a little bit delayed if a second gas had been taken.
And Dayshi's just going to head around to the bottom here to have a look, see where his opponent's spawning. Unfortunately, doesn't find him in this bottom right-hand location. But for Dayshi, that might be a blessing in disguise, considering that, you know, if he finds him cross-map, he's probably going to be quite happy with how things have gone. Cross-map here, Dayshi, I would have to give him the advantage after seeing game number 1 unfold.
Yeah, I definitely think that Dayshi's going to advance in first place in this group overall. I know he's Terran vs. Zerg. He loves playing Terran vs. Zerg. He is very good at playing Terran vs. Zerg.
He is very good, yeah.
And there's 2 other Zerg players in this group outside of these 2 right here. So definitely thinking that he's got a good chance to go through first place here.
We've seen a lot of good Terran versus Zerg, actually, when we were watching Bunny, for example, during previous groups as well. He showed some phenomenal TVZ in terms of just pure macro and just running his opponent over. And Dayshi's no stranger to that kind of style either. He's very, very good when it comes to that kind of play.
Yep, definitely be looking forward to seeing that. He has followed up with a factory here. Even though we described it previously, the factory was the better choice in that scenario. But here he's just openly chosen factory. So maybe a preferred style and approach here from Dayshi, who pokes in, doesn't get any information. He's chased immediately away from the mothership core. And the #1 rule is do not sacrifice your Reaper. Do not lose this Reaper. If you lose it, you just give the Protoss player freedom. And that is very, 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 very bad. Very bad. Do not lose the Reaper. Keep it alive.
Do not lose the Reaper. You're right. It's very important to keep alive. And, well, eventually it might try and jump in and maybe spot the Twilight Council, but it's going to be difficult on a map like this. There's not too many places to jump in. The Stalker's already covering one of them, and then the Mothership Core is going to be trying to cover this natural.
Yep. And by the looks of it, it's going to be very difficult to not go in and not lose the Reaper here. So he's going to probably have to scan. And I'd imagine that he'd scan flat in the main base, flat on top of it.
He's going to move
and then
forwards.
just kind of shout. It's going to be hard to get this right.
Seeing exactly what's going on at the back of the mineral line is really important.
2 Stalkers, Mothership Core.
And he reacts in time with that second Stalker as well. So it dies before it actually even gets to that Twilight Council.
Yeah, so he'll probably scan, I would imagine.
Well, he saw a pylon back there, right? So he has to... Actually, I really don't like where Sans put those 2 gateways because of him seeing that pylon with that Reaper.
Yeah, and he sees the Twilight and 1 gateway and can imagine there's going to be another one. So
yeah.
He knows it's going to be blink play. So he's going to now go for this Widowmine drop and then start to prepare his defense, which at the moment does seem to be... I mean, at this point, it depends on where the chrono boost goes, but from now, it's going to be a blink attack. There is a robo thrown down, because remember, San has seen nothing in this game, and will need detection, of course, against the more common Widowmine play.
I mean, he's not only not seen what his opponent's doing, he doesn't know where he's spawned right now. So he's throwing a pylon down up to the north, which eventually will reinforce, but it'll take a while.
I mean, imagine if he was bottom right there. It was so bad for San.
Yeah, that would be.
He knows he's not top left now, so he knows he's at the south side. We do have tank production very early on and Marine, so this has been a very common follow-up as of recent. We first did see Bunny use that against Naniwa on day 1 of the World Championship Series. But we are going to see these Widowmines, and there are Stalkers being warped in at home, but they are now leaving. With slow reactions, probes will die.
Wait, come back. I was following the medevac too much. Okay, actually, that got more than I was expecting. 3 kills on that one.
Trois.
And...
Et. Toi et.
Oh. Nice.
Cat. I'm doing my tribute to Dayshi here.
Very nicely done. Very
nice French. But there are double gases taken already on the natural, which have been spotted by the Widowmine play, so he knows it's not an attack coming from this. So I will probably even start to salvage his bunkers soon. And he knows that he's not under any immediate threat from this point. It's just going to be a continuation game.
Yeah, the missile turret's just an insurance policy, really, because he didn't see Blink yet, right? He didn't see it actively, so he's like, well...
With that initial scan, he saw it being chrono boosted, but I technically suppose it could have been cancelled.
No, you're right, you're right. And then from there, San is just going to take his third base again. Yeah. And he's just trying to hold on with that with Blink, but he doesn't really have that many units to his name. So he's got to be careful. But it's harder to pressure this as Dayshi, right? Because of the distances and it being cross positions on a map like Frost.
Yeah, so I'd say the game, until that third Nexus was taken, was pretty even. San dedicated to the Blink play, didn't over-dedicate to it. Dayshi responded correctly with bunker and tank production, which he wouldn't have done otherwise, which slowed his overall progress down, slowed his stim down, and so on. But he's now just continuing to go to where he was in the previous game. But now with this third base going down, it's exactly the same scenario as previous. Kind of very similar situations upon two bases, but then as soon as this third goes down, San, for every minute that goes by, is gaining a larger and larger lead at this point, if he's able to successfully defend this third, which wasn't the case in the previous game, but would seem to be more of a case here. Polar Knight is harder than this map to defend three bases on.
And Sam coming in here with his Observer, seeing that Siege Tank, has to know at this point that he's like, ha! I got you with my Blink. For just a second there.
And it's been spotted already, by the way. Really good scout.
Yep, nicely done. That Marine doing his job.
So now Dayshi knows that he's in a very similar situation to the previous map, where he needs to do damage again. The first Colossus is not out yet, so it's almost identical, really, in the point of the game it's up to. There's 6, 7, 8 gateways again.
Very, very similar game, you're right. But the thing is that San, I feel, is keeping a better eye on what his opponent's doing in terms of map control. His observers are in good positions. He has stalkers in good positions.
Yeah. Remember the one big move was Dayshi dropping in the main base that kind of pushed him in the lead.
Yeah.
If San doesn't allow that to happen again, then of course this game could look different.
And Daishi's just resigning himself to this third base by the looks of things. But San is already set up to go for counter-attacks if needs be, with that pylon on the high ground just above the third. Very nicely placed for a few Zealots to walk on in there and start dicing up some SCVs.
Yeah. I suppose that Dayshi isn't quite in a similar aggressive stance because he got the third command center a little bit faster, but overall very, very similar. But he's going to move across the map now, and San has great map vision. Beautiful map vision. And should not take damage to drops ideally. Well, obviously ideally, but in this position he's set up to, we'll see.
And the Medivacs have quite a lot of energy actually banking up here, so he has to be careful if he wants to go for drops, because Templar Archives is just finished up, and there's going to be High Templars set up for San to be able to feedback those. So.
Yeah, if his army's mostly concentrated on the left-hand side here, High Templar probably on the natural, but, well, here's the first fight.
Well, and there's some Zealots also doing some little bit of harass down there, but nice force fields will catch a lot of that off, and San's going to push that back very easily. Yeah,
and a big resource difference between the two of them. Dayshi moves out, loses a lot, and doesn't deal any damage there. Almost no damage to San's army.
Continues on the chase. Those Zealots don't want to overextend too far. And he's actually mixing in Hellbats here, Sean.
Look at this, though. This is no Forge play, Claris. This is just more gateways.
Wait, what, really? No Forges?
It's no Forges. It's just more gateways coming in. So he's going to be very aggressive with this. Actually, very, very... He's coming for their kill.
Yeah, it looks like he is.
I just started to notice. I'm like, wait a minute. There's 2-1 on the way for Dayshi, but nothing for San.
How bizarre.
He's just going to power through with all his resources into army. Well, he's got a massive supply count.
Yeah, he certainly could actually kill here. Those Zealots, very, very strong. 21 of them, almost outnumbering the entirety of Bio. Dayshi needs to somehow buy some time, but San is just actually powering on forwards. This could be catastrophic for him. Those two Colossi doing a lot of damage from the back. There's really not that many Vikings as the Stalkers blink forwards to pick those off as well. And the Zealots are just not dying down to this bottom-hand side.
And this attack was so aided by Dayshi losing quite a lot in the middle of the map to the blink and charge there. And he is just going to move through.
One Colossus will end up falling, but there's still just not enough bio. 5 Marines and 7 Marauders against this huge army. San's just going to break Dayshi's back. There's nothing he can do.
It's a lot of Medivacs and not enough Viking production earlier on off that 1-star port.
Yeah, a bit of a hard time there. Some of the Marauders and Marines firing away at these Colossi from the high ground, but just so many Zealots reinforcing. Also Zealots on their third base as well. San, with no Forge play, is just going to be able to power on through. GG for game number 2.
Yeah, I saw that a little bit late there. I was like, wait a minute.
You took me by surprise as well. I was like, what? No Forges? Okay. But it worked. It worked.
Yeah, it was just massive up in supply there. And I think he was up to 10 gateways rather fast in that game. I think the total count was. It was 8 gateways overall as his third base was finishing, then added on a couple more and just went for it, man.
All right. Well, that means it's 1-1 apiece now. Game number 3 will be on the way in a second. And if San can be victorious in this first series, then that alleviates so much pressure on him, I feel.
Yeah.
His PVZ, we all know how that goes. He's pretty good in that matchup, San. He is very, very strong when it comes to playing against Zergs.
Yeah.
So him being in a final, the winner's game against a Zerg, he'd be looking to advance on in first place.
Definitely think so. Definitely could happen. Was looking at the graph at the end of the game there, and in that middle fight when Dayshi moved out, he lost quite a bit of resources. I'm not sure exactly, but more importantly, San lost 0. Didn't lose a single unit in the middle of the map there.
Yeah. It was, unfortunately, having that map vision there for San
beautiful.
Was, fantastic. He could take the engagement basically whenever he wanted to.
Yeah.
And knowing that his opponent couldn't have the firepower to deal with those 2 Colossi, you can't sit there as a Terran. So you have to micro back and you have to try and get away.
Yeah.
Really hard spot there for Dayshi.
Would have been better if he had the 4th and 5th barracks earlier rather than the 3rd command center, then the 4th and 5th barracks. I think that would have been better setup for him. Would have had more units out there, could have potentially done more. But my favorite upgrade is becoming quite popular recently, Cloris. I've noticed.
Pretty good.
Zealot Charge. It's become really, really popular, and it's a great upgrade. That's why it's my favorite. I said that last season, last year.
I also am becoming quite fond of it. It's very, very strong, especially if you're going for harassment again. Like, even if Sant, well, I mean, he would have had to have forges for this kind of theoretical scenario to occur, but then he has that pylon over there. Harassing zealots with charge are amazingly strong.
Yeah.
So, yeah, good tools. Good tools.
Daedalus Point is the decider map here between these 2 players. It's a pretty good blink map.
Yeah.
The thing is, the strength of this map is going to be that it can be played out in any way for the Protoss, whether it be a proxy Stargate, in-base Stargate, blink play, Dark Templar, or just regular play. That's going to be the strength that San's going to have to rely on.
And we'll find out now what is going to occur from either of these players as we now move into game number 3. Spawning up to the top left, we have our blue Terran representing Millennium. It's Dayshi. And down to the bottom right, our red Protoss representing Yo Flash Wolves. It is San. 1-1.
Yeah, 1-1. Dayshi, I wonder if he probably would have just looked at the graph there rather than watched the replay. I was thinking if he would have thought about that game a lot. Waypointing the SCV, the first SCV, to the back of his base here in case there was a proxy.
Yeah.
He knows exactly how San's playing this series out, so he just has to be sure. And the way that you look at that last game from Dayshi is you say, okay, you lost a lot in the middle, you didn't exactly know the follow-up, and you died. Because it's a different approach. I mean, he would have already had bunkers down, maybe switched over to Vikings a little bit earlier. There's got a lot of medivacs, wasn't there? Quite a few medivacs, if I recall correctly.
Yeah, around 6 or so, 6 or 7.
Yeah,
so
that was a lot.
It's a lot. After 4, like once you've got 4 and you're starting to do drops and stuff like that, then you're trying to find out what's really going on with your opponent's tech. Then, Viking production can begin. But Dayshi really didn't get too much information in that regard.
And San's building placement already suggests that he is looking to hide something. This has happened a lot in the last couple of weeks by Protoss players, is they're starting to build walls around the Nexus and around the assimilators, or should I say the Vespian geysers, to hide information.
Yeah.
So I would imagine that the Cybercore would be in between the Nexus and the left Vespian geyser, and then create a wall that way so that the Reaper cannot get towards the back of the base very easily.
Can that pylon throw a Nexus, Cybernetics core there, though? I think he's going to have to throw it down on this right-hand side next to the other pylon, unless he wants to put it right behind the middle of the line. Because that's quite far out, is that pylon.
Yeah, looking at it a little bit more. Yeah.
But anyway, that's by the by. He's going to throw it down at the back here. But he has, that's the thing, he has opportunities to continue walling things off, right? And that's what we keep seeing. And it's a great tool to use. I use it a lot when I'm playing as well. And it's really annoying. Even if the Reaper comes in early on and just gets itself trapped behind there, it's like, oh, there was a wall on the other side. No! And he just kind of dances around and panics.
But it is just a 1 gate, 1 gas opening from San here, who also was checked inside his main base on the natural, but spotted the engineering bay really early on, which means that he's not going to cancel the Zealot. And he almost did there. He was very close to cancelling it, but the probe doubled back and did check. So this is fine.
Yeah, good choices. And Dayshi realizes that SCV was like 1 hit to death, so does migrate around that Zealot. So he can get in here and have a look around. Important to do. Under attack. Okay, well, it's that engineering bay, and it's going to go soon, so... Good stuff by San, good stuff. That's always why that insurance policy Zealot has begun.
Yeah, San hardly delayed here, just a little bit. He's built another pylon, and the Nexus was a little bit late, but of course the engineering bay was invested into. Factory is once again the chosen follow-up here from Dayshi. It seems to be very popular right now. And his follow-up, second gas coming in for San. I wonder what he'll choose from this point.
But in general, the factory, you were mentioning that it's very popular now. It's such a good tool to... It's like a check on your opponent, right? It's like, if you're cutting corners, if you don't have a forge, if you don't have a robo, then this is going to do something. This is going to do more than just kill 5 probes. It's going to delay you a whole lot.
And you can't just play only Twilight and Gateway, which has been quite common.
So it's a good check. As now San is going to go for Twilight Council once again here. But again, we're anticipating some form of detection. Probably the robo going to be coming in after that as well.
Zealot chased away there, but did kill an SCV build in the bunker, so...
Oh, that was nice. Did he get it? Yeah, he did. No, nicely done. So delays that for a second. And what are we at in terms of workers? 26 to 21 at this point, so really not too huge a discrepancy whatsoever. But there is a probe over on the left-hand side sharking around here for San. That's quite early out there.
Yeah, Zelnogga Tower has been taken, so if the Medivac was to go down through this pathway, it would be spotted. And also the Zealot on the right-hand side, so further increasing that for the time being.
And then we have Blink now on the way with Chrono Boost straight into it. So we've already mentioned how good a map this is for Blink, but I'm under the impression San's probably just going to use it to establish a third base again.
Big scan from Dayshi, seeing all of this. Yep, sees the gateways and also Blink being researched once again. So exactly the same opening here for San. And then he's even going to throw down the robo at exact same time. So far, exactly pretty much the same openings from both players throughout the series so far, or at least the last game and the next game after that.
Doing all right. Also
and then tank production going to begin as well, so...
okay, yeah. So he's just keeping himself well and truly stable with a mine in the back of this base. So really covering himself here in terms of what's going on. Wow, even a bunker going down. So Daishi's preparing himself heavily for this. Now, from this position, San should try and just cut as many corners as he can because his opponent's always in a very defensive mindset here.
And he's not going to try to be... I think Dayshi isn't actually going to go for the drop this time, as you can see. This is interesting that he hasn't decided to go for it. He's got the one with a mine outside the front, which has already picked off a probe, and then the other one back further, which means he's not going to get any probe kills. And I remember my French, he killed Cat. He killed 4.
Isn't it Catra?
Catra, Cat.
I don't know French that well either.
I don't know French. But he killed 4 in the last game. He's killed 0 in this game, and before that, in the first game, he killed 10 workers through his harassment. So no harassment dealt whatsoever, but obviously is a lot more defensively set up. But in this regard, as we see every single time so far, San hasn't dedicated to being aggressive with Blink. He's only researched it and just continued on maxing out his probes across 2 bases.
Yeah.
So you have to favor San in this position.
Exactly. I mean, it's as if Daishi's like, right, okay, Blink's too tempting here. He's definitely going to do something with it, but it's just not the case.
No, not the case at all. And Stim is delayed because of this. Tank was made, which isn't needed, so safety precautions were taken from Dayshi, but nothing actually came here. And San has gone up to double forge in this game, so he's played completely opposite to the previous one where he didn't get any upgrades whatsoever. But one difference here is that Dayshi is not making the mistake that he made previous, which he got the 3rd command center. And it did technically make sense. He says, all right, well, I'm not going to get Stim early. I've got a tank. I might as well take an earlier 3rd. But then it didn't really work out the way that Sam was playing against because he took a faster 3rd and Dayshi couldn't punish it. In this game, he's taken the 4th and 5th barracks before adding on the 3rd command center here. And he's saying, even though my Stim is delayed, I am going to increase my army size for when it is ready, then I can move out. But San is playing a very different game, and Dayshi's got no information on this at all. Until just now, where he's trying to get that harassment, which didn't happen earlier, dealt now, which isn't going to be as easy because there's a lot more units at this state of the game past the 10-minute mark compared to what it usually is at like 7 or 8.
Yeah, it's too little too late. He's going to block off the third for a small portion of time here, but if San even just brings his over that for a second, he's going to be well and truly aware of what's going on. So Dayshi's, unless he kind of deals with this double forge play and kind of finds a way in himself, he may end up falling behind if we see a lot of chrono boost. He sees it. He sees it instantly.
Yeah, that's a really good scan because that kind of tells him the game he's going to have to play from this point, which is going to be kind of harassment heavy. He can't allow his opponent just to run away with taking a third base shortly, and he needs to do some damage in this game because if he doesn't, and then San goes untouched for the majority of it, then San's going to have a very powerful 2-2 attack timing where he attacks and may just outrun and outsmash Dayshi quite hard. So Dayshi's going to have to start really ramping up the pressure now with Stim and combat shields about to complete, or at least Stim and shortly combat shields.
Yeah, there's he finds that pylon down to the left-hand side, so that will alleviate him for a second. He's also scouting out with this Marine that does not see that probe on the left-hand side, so he's not going to be able to spot that pylon. And San now does see that the movement of the army is looking a bit strange.
And Dayshi has started his Viking production after just 4 medivacs as well, so
okay.
A bit of a smaller adjustment. I do like the Widowmine on the third base, though. We'll tell him exactly when his opponent tries to take that.
But this kind of Starport production, this is what we were kind of leading to at the end of that second game, right? It's the 4 medevac, the kind of standard go-to, and then straight into the Vikings, which is going to be powerful for him. It's going to be hard for San to really hold on against. But again, it's the 2-2 that's really the big power punch here from San that is getting out of control quite a bit.
And to point out that, I mean, I said that Dayshi needs to start being aggressive and stuff. The reason why he hasn't is because the third base has that Widowmine and has seen no third Nexus been placed and actually just this very second killed the probe. So he knows his opponent's attention is towards taking this third base in a couple of seconds as the Observer's now coming over to clear it up. And this may be the point that Dayshi starts to think about doing some drops. But it is going to be hard though. Mothership Core and Blink Stalkers, any units lost would fuel the attack from San, which could take place. Now 2-2 is almost done. But San, without taking any Terran armies down with him so far, may not try to go with 2-2. He may try to go 3-3. He's got the Templar Archives done, not starting Storm.
That's a little bit of a shame there for him. He would have got a full read on his opponent's army, but well, he does see the 2 Colossi just in there for a second. But
Gateways are at 7. It's not the highest, really. His army's strong when 2-2 completes, but it also can be strong when 3-3 is complete. But that's given Dayshi enough time to get his double engineering bales on the way, so it's not a massive, massive difference between them.
If we did see the huge focal point of those 3-3 being chrono boosted into actively for San, if he starts them right now with 2-2 now finishing,
that's his strength in this game, his upgrade. So if he wants to play like that, definitely needs to. We do see the Ghost Academy making an appearance though, which has been missing a lot recently. But now Dayshi with that Widowmine sees the army moving out, and it is 2-2, no 3-3, which means San is becoming weaker the longer this game goes on. But currently, could be looking to move out here, Claris. Definitely could do. There's a lot of Vikings, though. 8 Vikings and 3 Ghosts about to join. No Mobius Rector required, so going to be able to jump in and EMP ASAP.
He didn't get Storm either, did he?
And the third Nexus is nothing here. It's actually nothing. There's no probes there yet. He's only transferring from Naked Mineral Lines from his own. So he's going to go for this attack. His worker count's low, his army count's high. Dayshi is kind of ready for this.
2-2 timing. Will it work out? A lot of EMPs hit those Zealots as they do charge on forwards, and the Bio's going to try and stim back as best it can do, but there's still a lot of Zealots alive. Only one of these Colossus in the back actually isn't firing at all. So this wasn't the best of engagements here from San, as all of the Vikings actually land to try and deal with this. How much Bio does he actually have left here, though? Another Colossus is on the way.
No Bunk has made this hard a little bit here, and he's lost a lot of SCVs, and San is powering through. +2 attack did complete just now, which does help out in this fight. Dayshi holds on for now. Yeah, he can chase this down. He needs to, and needs to keep on making workers, keep on making army supply. And he's going to get that last Colossus, ideally.
Yeah, it couldn't turn around. It had to try and buy some time, but in the end, he was stuck between a rock and a hard place. There's a few Zealots still going to town, though, killing off a supply depot. But in the end, I think, with Dayshi holding on there with 59 workers to 56, it's okay.
It's good. It was a good hold. Very good hold there. A bit of a tense one with no bunkers down, and I think started to lose a lot. Lost a lot of SCVs in trade-off. But remember, the SCVs, or should I say probes, were cut to make this attack work in the first place. So Dayshi actually maintains a supply lead. He maintains an army supply lead and maintains an overall lead in this game now. Because, as mentioned, if San didn't continue to chrono boost 3-3, he wasn't going to be as strong the longer the game goes on. Now, Daishi's actually caught up and isn't that far away from overtaking. He has +3 attack on the way.
Yeah.
He has Vikings, Hellbats, Ghosts. He has the perfect army composition being built and has better upgrades coming in. So he's in a great position.
And one huge thing that was sacrificed there for San during that engagement was the fact that he didn't have Mothership Core with him, so he didn't have availability of Time Warps to slow the micro down there from Dayshi that was keeping on top of things when those Zealots were on charging on forwards. If he'd have had double Time Warps in there, maybe it would have helped out, but he was just trying to keep it back for the counter-attack. So a bit in middle of the road there, I feel, for San.
Viva la France!
He's doing all right, man. He's doing all right. He could do this. He's going to march on for it. And, I mean, his army right now has a lot of firepower behind it.
It does indeed. San's still sitting on just 58-ish workers. It's a little bit low. It's okay, though, because his main base is actually almost dead. So it's actually low, but fine for the income that he could bring in.
And this is the time the Mothership Core is actually going to go with this army. Do you think it was a mistake to not bring it in the first engagement?
Yes. You don't need... Well, I mean, a photon overcharge isn't going to stop you versus big drops anyway, I'd imagine. Well, pins are better.
Looks like he's going to power on through here. Those Stalkers at the front aren't really going to do a whole lot.
Some good EMPs. All the Zealots, actually. Yeah. Almost all.
Double Time Warp there, but it only helps on the retreat out. That's not ideal for San, as Daishi's now looking for the kill. He knows the advantage he's in, and no, those Time Warps are not going to be a factor in these fights because all of your energy was used on that retreat. Those Zealots trying to move on forwards, but they get absolutely melted under the firepower of this bio, and all the Colossi are going to die. He has no more splash damage aside from 2 Archons. 1 Colossus is going to enter the fray, but this is a lot of firepower from Dayshi.
Yeah, Dayshi is looking at a win there, but didn't want to just jump in. There is still a Colossus alive. His units are very low health. He doesn't need to rush into this. He's worn the Protoss army down. He's got good upgrades coming in. Just take a breather. And very nice composition and composure there from Dayshi just to calm down, sit back, and look to go again shortly. But he is close to winning this one. San without Storm, without +3 attack, with only Colossus and a few Archons, which aren't the best at dealing out the splash damage necessary. Dayshi is looking good.
And I'm scared for San. He can't be out in the middle of the field, I don't think, right now. He has to be a little bit more defensively minded against an opponent that's going to be ramping up that production very strongly, taking a 4th base behind this as well. So not only does he have the army supply advantage, but he's going to have the economy advantage as well. Those EMPs, those 4 Ghosts at the front, they're going to have to be very, very strong. Oh, and catches a lot of that. Catches a lot of the Zealots, 1 or 2 of the Archons. And the power of this army behind this Terran is very, very strong. A few units coming in from the back there and actually messing with those Colossi. He's going to clean up quite a bit of it, but in the end, there's just not enough at all for San.
No, it's supplies are close, but, you know, he's going to win this fight and win the game. GG called, and Dayshi goes through to the winners match and knocks San down to the losers match.
Yeah, Dayshi looking good, looking on point there. And again, we saw during those games, the openers from both of them, very, very standard. Down the line, very similar indeed. But San, I like the idea of trying to mix things up with the double forge at the end and, you know, throwing his opponent off on a map that is so common for Blink play, really kind of messing with him. But in the end, didn't really work out too well.
No, it didn't work out too well. And now we'll have to face off against Targa, who could eliminate him in the lower bracket. But Dayshi now looks at the winner bracket and sees Mini Razor up there. Yeah. And you can only imagine that Daishi's like, all right, I have to take this opportunity to go through first place, sorry. Yeah. I've got to take this because I could face off against San later on, actually, if they were to meet again. And I think that with his confidence in Terran versus Zerg, he probably high-fived himself, ready to go into the round of 16.
Quite possibly. And that means now we go to our short break. And when we're back, we'll have our winners match. It's going to be Dayshi going up against Mini Razor.